stop scrolling. If you honestly think the UPSC Civil Services Exam is exclusively for university toppers and gold medalists, well, you've already lost the mental game. Welcome to this explainer where we're going to completely dismantle that myth and give you the exact fluff-free blueprint for the upcoming 2027 cycle. Okay, let's dive into this. Because every single year, we see students with 90+ percentages completely fail the prelims, while your average 60% scoring students go on to clear the interview and secure top ranks. So why does this actually happen? It's simple. UPSC doesn't test your rote memory. It tests your consistency, your endurance, and your ability to execute a rock-solid strategy under immense pressure. You don't need a brilliant academic past, guys. You just need a flawless, highly disciplined plan for the next 11 months.
Think about the traditional 95% topper. They often walk into UPSC prep with one fatal flaw, and that's overconfidence. I mean, they're used to academic systems where cramming for a fortnight right before the exam pretty much guarantees success. So they rely on rote memory and often just completely ignore qualifying papers like the CSAT. But on the flip side, look at this 60% average student. They know they aren't relying on innate genius, right? They know they really have to work for it. So they build a growth mindset, they trust the process, and they rely on a disciplined strategy. They understand that long-term consistency absolutely destroys a quick burst of panicked studying. They clear this exam through sheer endurance.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the statistic of 44.7%. That is the actual 10th grade score of IAS officer Avnish Sharan. He literally barely scraped by in school with 3rd division marks. And get this, he actually failed State Public Service Commission exams 10 times. But did he let his academic past define his future? Absolutely not. He just kept refining his strategy, he cut out all the distractions, and on his second UPSC attempt, he secured an incredible All India rank of 77. His story is just the ultimate proof that your past grades do not define your intelligence, and they certainly don't dictate your capability to clear this exam.
So how does all this translate into an actual workable strategy? Well, the official UPSC 2027 calendar is out, and the clock is officially ticking down to May 23, 2027. What we've mapped out for you is your 11-month execution blueprint, because if you aren't a genius relying purely on luck, you absolutely need a system. We're going to break down 2 specific launch paths based on when you actually began your dedicated prep, the June 15 early launch or the July 1st strict deadline. And honestly, no matter which date you pick, these 2 paths are going to merge at some very critical checkpoints, specifically the mains Convergence on November 1st and the absolute prelims lockdown starting February 1st.
All right, let's start by looking at Path A. This is the June 15 launch, also known as the 340-day runway.
If you're launching on June 15, congratulations, because you've secured a really crucial 15-day head start. This gives you the incredible luxury of foundational pacing. So here is your exact Phase 1 checklist, which runs from June 15 right up to October 31. This is a 135-day block where your main goal is the heavy lifting, but without drowning in the syllabus. You absolutely must complete 100% of your optional subject foundation. At the same time, finish your first basic, thorough reading of the standard books. M. Lakshmikant for polity, Spectrum for modern history, and your basic economy concepts. You'll also need to carve out an hour and a half daily for newspaper analysis to start linking those current events to your static syllabus. But notice that last point very carefully. No mock tests yet. Seriously, do not clutter your prep or ruin your confidence right now. Just focus entirely on building a rock-solid conceptual core. But what if you're starting a little later? Let's move on to Path B, the July 1 launch, or as we like to call it, the no-fluff deadline. And this brilliantly illustrates the difference between the 2 timelines. If you're starting on July 1, your runway is significantly tighter. You literally have 0 room for error, 0 room to just wander through random book lists, and absolutely no time for slow foundational pacing. While our June 15 starter can totally afford a balanced 3 hours for their optional and 3 hours for static GS, if you're a July 1 starter, you have to shift into high gear from day 1. You're going to need 4 hours daily to force complete your optional subject papers 1 and 2 by October. And on top of that, you can't just study GS sequentially. You've got to be smart about it. Combine related subjects, like geography and environment, into a single macro subject to save precious time. There are no breaks here, and definitely no backlogs. Now here is where things get really intense for everyone. Let's talk about Phase 2, the Great Convergence. This is your main score phase from November to January. Look, no matter which timeline you took, whether you had the luxury of that June pacing or you were on the high-intensity July sprint, on November 1st, both of these paths merge into a single intense pipeline. This mains consolidation phase is literally where true IAS officers are made. So here are your strict protocols for this 75-day window. Step 1. By November 15, your optional subject must be locked, packed in a box, and put on the shelf. You are officially done with foundational reading. Step 2. Your absolute undivided focus shifts to ethics. That's GS Paper 4, and really mastering your essay structures. Step 3. You need to consolidate your past 6 months of daily newspaper notes into crisp, data-driven points that you can actually deploy in an exam. And step 4, which is arguably the most critical of them all, you have to execute hardcore daily mains answer writing.
I really want you to let this sink in. If you don't write at least one answer a day in December, you will not clear mains in August 2027, period. That is the hard, unfiltered truth. Honestly, I don't care how many standard books you've read or how brilliant your memory might be. If you haven't actually practiced retrieving that information and structuring it under a strict time limit, you are going to fail the mains exam. Answer writing is exactly where the average, consistent student completely destroys the overconfident topper. I'm telling you, consistency beats IQ every single time. So pick up your pen every single day. And that brings us to the final hurdle, the absolute prelims lockdown, running from February 1st straight through to May 2027. On February 1st, the gates to your mains preparation slam shut. The absolute prelim survival game officially begins. For the final 110 days leading up to May 23rd, your entire mindset has to radically shift to tackle the objective, high-stakes nature of the prelims. You absolutely must adhere to these non-negotiables. First, stop all mains answer writing. Done. Second, do not even look at your optional subject. So the crucial point is your entire focus now narrows down to intense micro-revision of your static subjects. You've got to solve at least 50-plus sectional and full-length mock tests to build up that exam temperament. Learning how to guess intelligently and manage your time. And finally, you must tackle the CSAT daily. Let me just emphasize this right here because it breaks my heart every year. CSAT is where geniuses fail. Please do not ignore it. Every single year, we see academically brilliant engineering and science students stroll into the CSAT paper, assuming it's just basic math and reasoning, and they walk out completely disqualified. Overconfidence here is literally a fatal trap. The difficulty level of the CSAT has really evolved. It tests deep comprehension and logical application under insane time pressure. Treat it with the respect it deserves. Practice it daily during your lockdown phase so you ensure all your hard work on GS Paper 1 doesn't just go down the drain. All right, we've laid out the entire 11-month blueprint for you. We've shown you exactly why the consistent average student wins and why the overconfident topper fails. Now the choice is entirely yours. June 15 or July 1. Pick your start date. Commit to the daily execution blocks we've talked about today. Look, the path from average to achiever is entirely in your hands, but it requires you to stop making excuses, pick up that pen, and put in the disciplined work. Make sure you subscribe to this explainer for more high-yield, fluff-free breakdowns just like this. So, which date are you choosing to launch your future? Let's win this. See you next time.